Hi, my name is Katie Wenger, and I am here to tell you about my private therapy practice and also other services that I offer. And I wanted to tell you about the four different parts of what I do. The first part is the individual counseling, as you would imagine. So I see a lot of individuals. It can be on a variety of topics, but it can also be um, a lot of my clients come to me with anxiety or with difficulties with their relationship that they want to try to work through, or maybe there's some personal growth that they see in themselves that can benefit them for their relationship or just in their life in general. So the approach that I use with most individuals is called DBT. It's dialectical behavior therapy. And I really believe in that because I think that it shows a lot of strong results and people can see results quickly and they get straightforward strategies to deal with things that may come up in their day-to-day life, especially in between sessions. So DBT consists of four parts, which is mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, emotional regulation, and distress tolerance. And if you're familiar with any of those things, I'm sure that you can see why it's very effective for us in our daily life and in our relationships. So and if you're not familiar with some of those concepts, probably mindfulness is the most well-known one, then it's something that it would help for you to learn about if you're experiencing any distress or have goals in your life that you're trying to figure out how to meet. The second part of my practice is couples or marriage counseling, and that is a big part of my practice. I have a lot of couples come in who are either facing an obstacle in their life or feel like their communication is really lacking or their emotional connection, or they are feel like they're trying to navigate parts of the other person's personality that doesn't automatically and naturally mesh. And I believe through the course of a relationship and through the course of a marriage, what advice you would hear from a lot of people who have been together a long time is that if you don't grow together, you grow apart. So it's very important to look at how you and your partner are changing over the years or months and how you combine that together so that you both can be happy and fulfilled and give each other what the other person needs and get what you need in return. So I also use DBT with my couples, and I feel like that can be very effective because if you look at how you handle those four parts that I mentioned earlier, the mindfulness, the interpersonal effectiveness, the emotional regulation, and the distress tolerance, you can see how those things would be helpful to learn about yourself and to learn about the relationship. And I do think that gives a clear framework also for couples to work from, especially when therapy is new to them. I am also being trained in a form of internal family systems therapy, which for couples, which is called intimacy from the inside out. And the basis of internal family systems is to look at the different parts within us, look at the different pieces of ourselves, and especially your voice. Now, that doesn't mean hearing voices. It means that you have an inner voice, your inner dialogue, your thoughts and things that you've been taught and things that other people have said to you over the years, and the way that you react to things. So that is your inner voice. And it really takes a look at that and how it's affecting you. And all these different parts of yourself that may have been present from childhood, some may be new, some you may have developed as adults, and some may mesh well with your partner and some may not. And it's important to take a look at them and get to know the different parts of your partner to find out how you really can come together and understand each other. And intimacy from the inside out, the part of internal family systems that is for couples, looks at how you can really connect with that other person and communicate. So I think it will be very helpful for my couples and is a good jumping off point for therapy, especially with people who like a more structured approach. And I also incorporate Bowen's theory, which you may or may not be familiar with, but it looks at the different ways that our family systems model can affect us as individuals and in relationships. And if you're not logical approaches or therapy approaches or a that's okay too, because that can be educated in therapy, or we can take a more free flowing discussion, guidance based approach where you're able to come in and talk about what your difficulties are, what you're struggling with, and find some good solutions that work for you and maybe some goals for personal growth. I really do start when couples come in with making a plan together with you. So it's not something I'm going to decide without your input or collaboration on how I am going to work therapy. It's going to be something that we decide together, including frequency, what you'd like it to look like, what you'd like to get out of it, all of that. So please know that that plan will be made for you and to ultimately set up your success. The third part of my practice is co-parenting and parenting coordination. Now, co-parenting is done with two people who are raising a child together, who are either no longer in a relationship or were never in a relationship. And you may be having some difficulties with that or conflicts. As you can imagine, if you've never been in that situation, it is very difficult to co-parent outside of a relationship. Some people get a really great handle on it and it's healthy and happy, and that's the way that I think that it should be for the child or children and for you as the parents. So co-parenting can take a look at issues like your communication with that, making decisions together, how you, certain things you want to raise the children with, morals, rules, so that they can be possibly similar in both houses, which allows for the best outcome for the child because they know what to expect, future planning, and just also, again, collaborating parts of your personality and parts of you that may be different from the other person and how to work together. And then parenting coordination is a judge-ordered framework that is usually ordered to address a specific concern. So I may have two individuals that are co-parenting come in to make a plan for holidays with the kids and vacations and how that's going to be split up, what the time will look like, and where that will occur. Or it can be something as complex as picking a school for your child, or it can be something about collaborating and communicating and making decisions together on when a significant other is introduced to your child or children, or when that person moves in, or when you remarry. So it can really address what may look like smaller detailed issues, as well as more overarching kind of themes in the co-parenting and the family structure for your child or children. And then the fourth part of what I do is relationship consulting. And I started that out of what I saw as a need for people to reach out and ask questions or find resources or ask for some feedback on a relationship issue that maybe they're not ready to come into therapy, don't have the availability or time for therapy, or their partner may not be open to therapy or unable to do therapy. So this is a way for you to get some of those questions answered, get pointed in the direction of helpful resources and strategies, and have someone to check in with about resolving a certain issue or question, or again, larger themes. So relationship consulting can be done over the phone or online, which makes it very convenient for people to get in contact with me. And there's different packages available, but this can also include email communication where I can check in with you and continue to offer feedback. Like I said, this is different from therapy in that it is relationship consulting, and it can be helpful to just ask a certain question or to vent about something, or if you're trying to make a decision. This can be used together as a couple or a family, or it can be used or for friends, or it can be used just you as the individual reaching out. So it can be used in romantic relationships or marriages or partnerships. It can be used for a parent and an adult child. It can be used for children or adult children and their parents or siblings. It can be for, for example, for siblings who are trying to reconcile after an estrangement, or an adult child who is trying to find the right path with their parent who is now a grandparent once that adult child has their first children, and what they think that should look like, the expectations, boundaries, and all that may come with that. So I'm hoping that this service can really be what I want it to be, which is bridging that gap between therapy and between not reaching out and not finding those resources, or not being able to talk to someone about a decision that you may be making. So that is the other thing that I really see people as being able to use it for: deciding whether or not to stay in a relationship, deciding whether or not to get married, deciding whether to separate or divorce, or to how to manage conflict or communication in any of those scenarios. So I wanted to invite you to reach out, and please feel free to ask me any questions. You can look up information on my website, which is katiewengerlcsw.com. That's KatieWengerLCSW.com. And there's also a page on there about relationship consulting, which I called the Relationship Consulting Service. You can also email me, katiewenger@comcast.net, KatieWenger@comcast.net. And like I said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have or provide information about what it is that I do, or whether it would mesh with what you are looking for. So thanks for listening today, and I wish you all happy and fulfilling relationships and peaceful lives.